Well, we get it every day because it's not just the games. So that's important to them, but they're back in full practice, and that changes the way you look. It's the same with Sam coming back into our lineup. So we put 3 high-end NHL players into a practice group, and it's faster, and everybody feels that. So, yeah, it's been great to have them back. It's been nice that they were around, that they were able to skate with us, but having them back as part of practice and certainly as part of the games is a great addition to our team.
And on that, any Barkov update today?
We'll list him as day-to-day. We're still looking at it. We did an IR him. We can, and that would take him into the weekend. He won't play tomorrow, for sure, but so we'll leave him at day-to-day. Mahura's on IR, so it's clearly a 7-day event, but we don't believe it's a 14-day event. So we think it's somewhere between those two. He'll come back, but he may be back and ready to practice, and then we'll want to get some practices on both those guys. But that's the difference between the two.
Is there a sense of relief on the Barkey issue?
Well, yeah, and it would be for any player, but certainly you can win with any lineup in the National Hockey League on any given night. We've seen it done with 8, 9 guys out of your lineup. You can win any, but you just can't win long term, right? So you can, and we did. We survived 16 games without the defenseman and Bennett. But you need to get on runs, to stay on runs. You need your team.
Is this sort of like a bone bruise kind of thing? I mean, it didn't seem like there would be anything structural. You never know, obviously, but the way he was hit, direct on the knee.
It was direct on the knee, and it was soft tissue. I think it wasn't a bone bruise, but we got lucky. That's all. We just got lucky with it because those are dangerous plays.
And with this week, you've got 3 at home. Like you said, out maybe through the weekend, or
yeah. Again, it's day to day. If as we get further out on this, every day comes in, you check the swelling, you check the strength, you check the range of motion, and it either gets better fast, or it's plateaus or whatever. So that's what extends these things. And then if it got to a certain point, we could backdate the IR and bring somebody in if we needed to. Right now, we won't. We'll just play it day by day.
And looking at it, Anton Lundell. He's played with Reinhardt, obviously, the last 2 seasons, and he also knows Verhaeghe pretty well.
Right.
You feel pretty good, especially off the game you just had.
Well, that line, the problem was Lusterin and Lundell and Cousins were incredible in that game. It was as good as the lines played in a long time, and they were dominant. So, I don't want to break that up, or didn't want to break that up. But depending on how it goes, the lines are sort of set, but really what's going to happen is those left wingers are going to move around, because you can always play Lusterin with Lundell and Reinhardt. That was a line last year that we actually checked with, and going into Edmonton they've got the top 6 loaded onto 2 lines. That may be something that we do, but we'll start where we have a little bit more balance, and if we need to kind of react to it during game, we will.
And you got Jonah in now. The other night. Adds a little something different, right?
I liked his game because it was simple, but he also did some things with the puck that were real good. There's a physical edge, and he can handle himself. And I've always thought it was good to have a guy like that in the lineup, but he has to be able to play, and that's what he's proven right now.
If you'll indulge one more on Barkey, did you expect something different Friday night when you saw him?
You never know, right? For how? So when it happens, you don't know anything when you're on the bench so Dave DiNapoli will go off with them, and then you were just waiting for him to come back to get a report, and then they'll always be cautious with that report. The first one will be either is he returning or not. And then you just put it out of the back of your mind. But we got that he was walking around after. That's the first good sign, so it's not catastrophic anyway.
We talked about Anthony Stolarz before, but it seems like now he's showing everything. He's shown that he can sit for a month, and he's shown that he can play 2 and 3. It seems like he's doing everything right for you guys right now.
Yeah, he was doing it. He had a big game. And then what's important as well is that he was really good in practice today. And I don't spend too much time critiquing goalies, but I'll watch the backup a little bit more, because those are his games, to see if his work level, and you can kind of tell where he's at mentally. Man, he was wired today, so he's been really good. And his numbers suggest that, and it's a critical piece to what we do. We have to be able to get Sergei the amount of rest that he needs to be sharp.
And right now,
you are fully clothed, my friend, for a big day. I'm actually, what's it, 1 o'clock start?
1 o'clock.
Congratulations on the professionalism to come in, because I might have just called a friend and said, hey, can you send me over the notes? Or just send me a text or tell Addie, I'll just give you a line, or you don't have to come in. Because it takes your focus away. I feel unfocused now. Okay.
It's a big one. The Raiders.
Yeah. No, big game.
You got 8 defensemen right now.
Yeah.
And then Mahura's on IR. So
Correct.
You're going to have 9 at some point.
Right.
What's the plan there is?
Top secret, my friend.
Top secret.
That'll be something that we let you know after the fact, right? So there are some moving parts. We won't be able to carry 9.
And then just, obviously secret, but the fact that Balinskis is wavering, does that play a part in it?
It's going to be a factor in terms of making sure we get as many of these defensemen to play games as possible. We just don't want people sitting. He's been really good, though. Like, I mean, his play has been NHL caliber, so these are going to be really difficult to do.
And now looking at this, I mean, I know he's 27 years old, but getting to practice and just, I don't know, can that be good too? I mean, I know he
Yeah.
wants to play and he should be playing, I get it, but
There is a difference, George, for sure. An 18, 19, 20-year-old kid needs to learn the pro game. He's played pro hockey for the last 8 years of his life, so for sure there's a difference. He doesn't need, in some ways, more games. He needs more experience with NHL practices and games and travel, and that's the newness for him. But so there is a difference, yes.
As you get near the quarter, I guess 25% mark of the season here, I know the record is what the record is, and obviously that's good, but how do you like where you are as far as from where you started to what you're at right now?
Yeah, I think I'm most pleased with the core principle that we've been able to reestablish a bit of our defensive game and our compete. That's what from January 2nd on was where we were good last year, and they brought it back to training camp. So that part's there. So I would say I'm somewhat oscillate 65 to 75% happy. If that's a pretty good number in the National League, because no, I wouldn't rate the team on that at all. Their effort is considerably higher than that, and my happiness level, I don't think I bumped past a B minus. So, in general, no, that's not fair. I think you take those are 3 big pieces out of our lineup, and that's true of any team in the NHL. And these guys have worked their butts off, and I try not to make too big a deal of it because that's 3 men that's in our lineup that are doing the job right now that may not get into the lineup when everybody was healthy, right? I want to be respectful of the work that they've done, but they are part of our group, and we will, if we're lucky, we'll only use about 28, 29 players this year. So they are a part of the franchise and a part of the team, and they're a needed part, and they've delivered. So that part I'm really pleased with. But the NHL, after a while, that you just you can never get comfortable. You can't. You've got the teams that, Philadelphia I think is on a 4-game ripper right now. So the hunt is always on, right? We got to be a part of it.
I mean, in Jonah Gadjevic's debut, I mean, you saw he was a big physical guy, but he also had a bunch of scoring chances there, kind of flashed it. I mean, what have you seen from him? And I know you mentioned his potential with the 4.
Yeah, he's an interesting player because he had scored, like I said once, he scored 46 goals in major junior hockey in Canada, and that's a real number. So there's some hands there. There's a shot there for sure. His processing is good. I think where we want to see him more, that injury, his injury was I think kept him more restricted than the other 2 fellows. They all had an upper body injury, but he couldn't do nearly as much as the other 2 could do. His conditioning is fine, but that would be the area we'd like to see him almost play himself and practice himself into shape. And then because if he can get that speed up, if he can catch a half step here, then he is heavy. He's very, very smart. He's a very, very clean player, too, for a guy who plays a physical, also enforcer role at times. He doesn't take a lot of penalties, and he hits down, so he's not driving up into hits. He's a very clean player. So I am interested in him. There's this organization, and I don't consider myself part of this because I'm new to it. The pro scouting group and the group that finds these players is exceptionally good at what they do. And they have lots of time for them, and I want to see it, so I'm interested in them.
Thanks, Paul.
Okay, folks. All right, enjoy the game.
Man.